Hello, everybody. This is Ronry as always. Um, I was just thinking back to the first time. I'm not the best with technology. I'll say this off the bat. It took me until a few months ago to figure out how to view analytics on my videos. So I was only seeing the view count. I was not seeing how much of the video people were actually watching, the view average, like the view duration average. Um, and the watch hours and all that. But I finally figured it out after my buddy Talos showed me how to do it, or told me how to do it. And I noticed that a lot of people have a very short attention span. And it shocked me. Some of the hour-long videos had a 22-second view duration average. Because so few people were finishing the video. And even shorter videos like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, a lot of the video was not being watched by a lot of the people clicking on the video. And it got me thinking how if that is normal, then my attention span is abnormal. If if people are unable to pay attention for an hour straight, I am abnormal because I can literally pay attention to a speck of dirt on the floor or on the wall for hours at a time. I don't. I can sit and stare at trees blowing in the wind for an entire day. I can sit outside watching a fire for an entire night. I can go hours without needing to change what I'm doing for entertainment value. Part of that is part of that is nature and part of that is nurture, in that part of it is environmental that caused me to be this way. There was trauma where I was forced to participate in things regardless of if it entertained me, and it was for somebody else's benefit that I was participating. So the way I would cope when I was forced to watch them play video games or forced to watch whatever movie or TV show they wanted to watch or whatever it is that I was forced to do instead of being allowed to entertain myself by reading a book or going to sleep, doing anything independently. Um, they would flip shit and threaten violence on themselves or against me or both, and I would be forced to literally stare at a wall for up to 12 hours at a time while they played their game, and they needed my company because they could not do anything independently. I had to be there. um After I got out of this situation, um, I was 20 years old, and it had triggered in me my schizophrenia. Usually, for a female patient, 20 is really young to see the acute stage starting to happen. I was still in the prodrome phase at 20, but by the time I was 23, I was in the acute phase. So at 22, I entered the acute phase. So at 20, I was in the prodrome pretty heavily. And I've had catatonia since I was in middle school. Did not know that was what it was called, what was happening to me. I never had the language to explain what was going on. But at age 20, I was living with this guy and he had a job. So he went to work and I sat on the couch waiting for him to come home. And for a week straight, whenever he would ask me, "What did you do all day?" I would say, "Nothing." And finally, on the last day of that week, he was like, "No, seriously, tell me what you did all day. I want to know. What did you watch? What did you listen to music wise? What did you eat? Did you do any art? What kind of activities did you get up to while I was away?" And I told him I didn't do anything. He's like, "No, seriously, tell me what you did all day." And I said, "I sat on the couch and I stared at the wall the entire time." And he said, "I was gone for 8 hours." And I said, "I know." And after being forced to say out loud, the quiet part out loud, I realized how horrifying what I had just said was. This, unfortunately, did not stop me from doing it. It was hardwired into me at this point. So that one time, while I was living with him, he went out to eat with his buddies and his coworkers for breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 days in a row, and was assuming that while I was home alone, I was feeding myself. Uh, uh, that's a fair assumption to make. In a fully stocked house with somebody who has been cooking since they were 4 years old, someone who is adept at cooking, yeah, you give them the ingredients, they will feed themselves. So that Friday, after the third day, I was feeling queasy, and I asked him to bring me some Gatorade because I had a stomach ache, and then I got really dizzy. And I asked him to come home because I was feeling seriously bad. And he came home, and I was sitting in the bathroom next to the toilet in case I puked again. And I was like, "My heart feels funny, can you take my pulse?" And he took my pulse, and he said, "It's off beat." And I said, "I need to go to the hospital. That's called arrhythmia." And he asked me, "Well, you're puking. Did you eat anything funny? Like anything spoiled?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Well, what was the last thing you ate?" And I was like, "When we ate together." And he's like, "That was 3 days ago. What was the last thing you had to drink?" And I said, "When we ate together." He said, "That was 3 days ago. You haven't had anything to eat or drink for 3 days?" And we went to the hospital. I passed out on the way down to the parking lot to the car. Thankfully, I got down the stairs before I passed out, but I did pass out. And he drove me to the hospital with me laying down in the back of the car. They gave me, I think it was 4 or 5 bags of fluid, and in fluid alone, I gained 15 pounds before I left the hospital. And thankfully, that's never happened again, but that did leave a lasting impact on my understanding of myself, if that makes any sense. Like, the fact that I am capable of staring at a wall so long that I have to go to the hospital because I didn't eat or drink anything. That's a bit terrifying. So I'm very cautious to make sure I eat or drink at least, every day, if not every other day, if it's a bad week. And I have to be consciously aware of that every single day, whether or not I have had anything to drink. Like water, coffee, soda, milk, juice. I have to make sure because my body doesn't make sure for me. Like, you can see on my lip, that is from dehydration. So, when I try to when I try to describe to people how thoroughly I can pay attention to something, regardless of if my mind is consciously engaged in reality, I will direct my body towards a television program that I'm not mentally absorbing and physically pay attention to it, even if I'm not mentally paying attention to it. And if I'm mentally paying attention to it, I tend to finish the video, the entire thing. If I click off of a video without finishing it, that's usually an insult. It's like, this is trash. I'm not going to finish it. It's not because I have a low attention span, it is because the video is not good enough to be worth my attention. And it's weird to know that being able to pay attention is not the norm. That we are all being forced into this mindset where hyperstimulation is necessary or else we can't mentally engage. But I won't say I'm not, I'm not immune to it. I won't say I'm not prone to a little bit of seeking that dopamine rush, but the way I do it is with nonfiction. Um, I like true crime, and the more graphic and disturbing it is, the more it grips my attention. So I'm definitely prone to the same habit. It's just that my behavior with that habit is a little different. I finish the true crime videos. If I'm not going to finish it, I put it in a playlist to get to later, and I don't click on the video. I just put it in the playlist. So seeing the watch duration average being 22 seconds on an hour long video, I feel bad for y'all. I know y'all feel bad for me, but I feel bad for y'all. And I think about it pretty often. It's one of my Roman empires that society has reached this point within my lifetime. Alright, I will see y'all in the next one. Love you. Bye.